Hello, and welcome to episode 13 of the Sarah Seams podcast. My name is Sarah. I'm coming to you today from Columbus, Ohio, where I live with my partner Troy and our two cats, Alex and Moo. Today is May 18th. I have my notes over here. May 18th, and it's a beautiful sunny day. It's not too hot, lovely spring day here in Ohio. This is my channel where I share all about my making, mostly fiber crafts. Today I have some sewing and some knitting, quite a bit of knitting to share with you. And yeah, I also will do a little bit of like chat at the end, and I have quite a bit of like yarny goodness to share with you today. So to jump right in, oh no, I always forget social media. You can find me on Instagram at Sarah_Seams and on Ravelry at Sarah Ribble. And this month it's May, so it's Me Made May, and I've been sharing an outfit every day in a reel on Instagram of some of my, featuring like at least one of my handmade clothing items. And it's been fun this year to share a lot of knitting. Last year when I participated, I didn't have any finished knit garments, but this year I have quite a few. So that's been really fun. So yeah, if you're interested in following along with that, you can find me over there on Instagram and check out my Me Made May 2023 story highlight. But to jump into what I'm wearing and also my first finished object, I will show you this. So underneath of this jumper, I'm wearing a dress. This is the, I believe it's like Kilo, the Kilo dress from Named Pattern Company. And let me just stand up so you can see. So you can see it's an all over knit and has this little waist tie. Let me put a little video in of me wearing it so you can see. It's a really nice dress. It has a lot of movement. I made this version out of a secondhand ITY knit that I got at a fabric swap last year, and I really like it. I wear it a lot. Probably need to make like a couple more because I really love this dress. But what I'm wearing over it is my Rota jumper. So this has been a work in progress for the last couple of episodes, and I'm really happy that it's now finished. So this is the Rota jumper by Irene Lynn, and it's really beautiful. I love how it turned out. I knit mine in, let's get up close so you can see the texture. I knit mine in Juniper Moon Farms Cumulus base, which is I think it's like an Aran weight cotton, but it's kind of like a chainette. Like it's a really soft kind of like blown yarn. And I made this size 4. As you can see, it's very oversized, which is kind of the look of this sweater. So I'm happy with it. Here's the back. What I maybe didn't anticipate as much is how much that this yarn would grow. So if I knit this again, well, I should say I was kind of between size 4 and 5. And when I looked at the amount of ease, so like between 4 and 5, the width-wide ease was not too different, but the length-wise measurements increased quite a bit with the size 5. And I have a really short torso, so I didn't want that. So I decided to make the size 4. If I was making this again in this yarn, I would probably go down another size just because it has grown so much. Like even since I've worn it once before now, and I'd say it's probably grown at least an inch in the body. Like this is my natural waist and it's sitting about here. So a couple inches below, which is fine because I'm mostly going to be wearing it over dresses. But you can really see on the side seam how it's kind of drooping down, and that's partially because there's so much ease, so that's just always going to sit a little bit lower. But yeah, I really love it. It's like, considering how much yarn is in this garment, it's very light to wear. So I knit the body to spec. This is the crop length. I didn't like crop it anymore or lengthen it anymore. This is just the in pattern cropped length. The sleeve, so I wanted the 3/4 length sleeve. There's also a full length sleeve option in the pattern. And as written, to get the 3/4 length sleeve, it was gonna have another repeat of this lace section. And I tried it on and I was like, if I do another repeat of that, it's gonna be full length on me. So I decided to just do 2 repeats and stop there. And I really like it, how it hits me just in the right place. And the shape of the sleeve is really fun. It's got this kind of like balloony shape to it. The other thing is that this neckline is very wide. So again, it's fine for throwing it over dresses and just having this casual vibe. But if I were to knit it again and size down, I would hope that the neckline would be a little bit tighter. I might knit a little bit more ribbing because it's already started like slipping off my shoulders, which again is kind of just the easygoing like vibe of this sweater. But yeah, those are just a couple of things to note. But I'm very, very happy with it. This is the second time I've knit one of Irene's patterns. The first one I knit was the vest version of this. She calls it a top, but it's like basically a vest. And that one was amazing too. Like her patterns are super well written. I will definitely knit more of them in the future. Very easy to follow. And this stitch pattern is really enjoyable. I definitely got a little bit more tired of it towards the end on this garment just because there was so much of it and it was in a cotton yarn, so it was a little bit harder on the hands versus the top version where I used wool and it was a little bit easier. I actually have a video from one of my Me Made May reels that I can put in of the top version, the little vest version that I made, so you can see the difference. That one's a lot less knitting, so if you're curious about this stitch pattern but you don't want to commit to this giant thing, I would highly recommend to try the top version. So yeah, that's what I'm wearing, and also my first finished object. I think that's all I wanted to say about this one. Oh, the color of yarn that I used is Pearl by Juniper Moon Farms, and I purchased this in Pittsburgh at Yarns by Design, which is a lovely little yarn shop there if you ever get the chance to visit. All right, my second finished object is a sewing project, and it is the Aura Pinafore by Soften Studio. I'll put a video in here of me wearing it. I'm not going to talk too much about this because unfortunately the pattern is no longer available for purchase. I believe Melody, who runs Soften Studio, is intending to start producing this garment for sale. So if you really like it, hopefully in the future you'll be able to purchase one from them. But yeah, I made this version in washed linen from Blackbird Fabrics in the color Cerulean, and I've made one before out of a really heavy like bold denim, and that's kind of like my fall winter version, and this linen one is going to be my spring summer version. So now I have two of these, and for this one I decided to do the big patch pockets on the side. On my denim one I have the inseam pockets in the side seams, so I have both views of it now. I really like this garment. It's really easy to just like throw it on and go. It's very versatile. I think I'll be wearing this one a lot this summer. And my last finished object is also knitting, socks of course. I think I had started these last time. These are my DK weight Thickmas socks. The pattern is by Summer Lee Knits, and this is a D20 project. So I've been sharing about my D20 socks. So the first pair was in fingering weight, and then I've done this pair in DK weight, and the D20 part is that you roll a 20-sided dice to pick your colors and how many rows you knit. And if you're interested to hear more about that, I talk a lot more about it in the past couple of episodes, but this was the finished one that I had last time. So I'm just using a bunch of different like leftover sock yarns that I have and holding them together in different amounts of stripes as indicated by the dice rolls. And then for this, for the DK version, because I was gonna have fewer colors than in the fingering weight version, I did decide to use the same yarn for the heel and the toe on both pairs. So that's the one I had last time. And here's the second one that I finished. So this one's a little bit lighter, but I think they really go well together as a pair. They both have that hot pink and the teal, and like I said, I do think doing the consistent heel and toe on this pair really helps to tie them together a little bit more. But yeah, I really love them. They're super fun. And I was worried they were gonna be super like stiff to wear because of the thick yarns, you know, holding two fingering weight together. But after I blocked them, they really softened up nicely, and I'm very excited to add these to my personal sock collection. Our house has been pretty cold, like inside during the day, even even in the spring so far. And you know, in the summer we'll have the AC. So I really think I'll get quite a bit of wear out of these. My little feet get cold. These are gonna keep them very, very warm. So yeah, my second pair of D20 socks. And I think this knit along is going until the beginning of June, or the end of June even, so you definitely have a little bit more time to jump in if you're interested. It's being hosted by Mackenzie of the Into the Third podcast. This is her project, and it's super fun. I'd highly recommend trying it out. I think I really want to make one more pair of D20 socks that are kind of like a shorty as a gift for someone. I don't know if I'm gonna start that right away or wait a little bit, and I'll talk more about why that may be at the end of the podcast when I share some of my like knitting plans. But yeah, I definitely have at least one more pair of D20 socks in these colors in my future. I also kind of want to make a pair for Troy, maybe for Christmas, that has some different types of colors in it for my stash, maybe some more like reds and neutrals and blues. So yeah, more D20 socks in my future for sure. But this is my most recent finished pair and I really like them. Also the Thickmas socks from Summerly is a wonderful, wonderful pattern. It's kind of a group of patterns, I guess. So all of them are meant to be made with 2 strands of fingering held together and marled, but so this is the plain version, but there's also like a garter version and one with cables, and you get a lot for the pattern, and it's really a wonderful pattern. I love all of Summer's patterns, so I highly recommend those. All right, moving into whips. I have 4 that I'm going to share with you today, and they're all knitting. So the first one are my stripy socks that I've been working on for a while. And I'll be honest, these kind of got put on the back burner a little bit when I got so excited about all the D20 socks, but I've made some really good progress on them. So I think I had finished the first one last time. This is just my plain vanilla sock, and the yarn is from Nomadic Yarns. It's their colorway Knit Folk. Really, really pretty colors. And if you want to hear more specifics about these, like I said, check out the last couple of episodes and I share all about them there. But I have started the second one and made some pretty good progress on it. So I'm just working through the gusset decreases now, and then I'll just have the foot and the toe. And I did not really worry about matching up the stripes exactly, so they're a little bit mismatched, which is totally fine with me. I'm not like super particular about that kind of thing. If anything, I prefer them to be mismatched. So yeah, just chugging away on this guy. It's 2 inches of 2x2 rib cuff. The leg in total is 6 inches, heel flapping gusset, and then decreased toe, and the toes are grafted together. So yeah, just working away on those. My second whip is coming along really nicely. I'm really, really so happy with this. So I shared last time that I'm working on a test knit for Florence Sperling, who designs beautiful color work patterns and just really interesting, has a lot of interesting like design details on her pattern. But I saw a test call for this shawl and I just had to test it. This is the Floro mini shawl. Let's see how to best show this. And I am halfway through. So I just kind of gave it a little steam block. Here's what I have. Kind of just looks like a little pendant right now. So sorry, it's kind of hard to show the whole thing at once, but this is an all over intarsia colorwork mini shawl. I'm just gonna hold up this section so you can see, like, I think last time I got to about here from the end to here, so I'll just show up this part so you can see what I've done in the past week or so. So this uses 4 colors of stash yarn, and as I said, it's all over intarsia, so I think I have 19 little balls of yarn that I'm dealing with. So far, the most I've ever had to use at once was 12, which is still a lot. But I mean, just look how beautifully this is turning out. So Florence knit hers in like a summer yarn, so it's maybe like a cotton linen. I'm using stash. These are mostly sock yarns, so mine is wool. It's a little bit more of a wintry version, which is why I chose these really like cool, soft colors, and these are also just kind of my colors. So yeah, I am obsessed with this. I'm halfway through. It's just a little triangle shawl, so I'll start decreasing down to the other end. The test is due on June 2nd, so I really need to kind of crank through this. We've got, you know, Memorial Day, holiday weekend coming up here in the States, and just a lot going on. So I've been working almost exclusively on this for the past like week or so, and I'll probably continue to do that for the next week or so. You know, this wider section where there's a lot more motifs going on just are slower, not only because there's more stitches, but also because there's more yarn management like here than there is like down here. So yeah, this is definitely not a beginner intarsia project. This is my third intarsia project, and I'll put pictures in of the other two patterns that one of them is a whip and one of them I finished. So the first one I started was the Keswick scarf from Pom Pom magazine. I've shown that on here a few times before. It's a long standing whip. It's a massive project, but it's absolutely beautiful. So it's this kind of like sheer plaid square scarf. It's stunning. So that's one I'm working on. That was the first time I ever tried intarsia. I probably wouldn't recommend that for your first intarsia project either. However, it is made a little bit easier because you're holding a strand of mohair throughout. So if you forget to twist a yarn, you're not going to get a hole because the mohair will kind of fill that gap. And in fact, I'm pretty sure that I didn't do it right. Like, I think I haven't been twisting my yarns between colors, but it all has kind of worked out because of the mohair. So that was a learning project. The second one I did was the Color Quadrant cap by James & Watts, and I'll put a little picture of my version in, which is an excellent beginner intarsia project. If you're curious about this technique, this is an excellent pattern. It uses 4 colors, so it's not an overwhelming amount of colors to deal with. It's very, very cute. And James gives excellent tutorials. He has YouTube links to all of the techniques, tells you exactly how to organize everything and lay out your yarns. If you're interested in trying intarsia, I would highly recommend trying that as your first pattern. It really helped me like learn the technique and kind of like understand it better. And it makes a very cute hat. So yeah, I would recommend that one or something similar for your first intarsia project. Something like this, it's not hard at all. It's just a lot of yarn management. You definitely have to be like sitting down at a table or somewhere where you can keep your yarns organized. So, you know, it's not like TV knitting or like couch knitting. This is pretty active knitting, and it's a little bit fiddly, but I mean, look at how beautiful it is. Like, it's just stunning. So I am very happy with how it's turning out. Like I said, I've been just giving it a little steam block before I show it, and that seems to be working great. So I probably will not wet block this when I'm done because I'm a little bit concerned about color bleeding from this red onto this light gray. So I'm probably just going to give it a steam block and call it a day. The yarns. So the light gray yarn is leftover sock yarn. Oh no, I'm lying. It's Lang Jowl Superwash. This was gifted to me by Jess, who was my sock swap partner last year for the Le Mercerie Winter Wishes sock swap. The more mid-tone gray is a skein that I got secondhand from Make and Mend, which is an online craft supply store, secondhand craft supply store, and it is, let's see, Cloudborne Fibers, Superwash Merino Fingering. The color is 39-030. Oh, and the light gray color, I should say, is not on here. I'm not sure. The navy is a Woolfolk 10 or 10. It's their fingering weight yarn, and it's so soft. I had an extra skein of this from when I made a bralette last year. And the red is a yarn that I picked up when I was down in Savannah, Georgia, about a month ago, hand dyed in Athens, Georgia. It's from Ryan Yarn, and the color is the Heart of Everything. So yeah, like I said, this is almost a monogamous knitting project right now, just because I have that deadline and I don't want to miss it. So I'm going to be working on this. I think once I get past the next like chart and a half of the big section on the other side, it's kind of going to fly. But yeah, the other thing I will say, it's knit flat and stockinette. So if you hate purling, every other row is purl. Now it's not a ton of stitches, but you know, it's still quite a bit of purling on small needles. So if you're not into that, this might not be the project for you. It is knit on 3.25 needles, and there are 100 bazillion ends to weave in. So I actually have, hold on, let me grab my little jar over here. Yeah, so I've been weaving in the ends whenever I block it to show. So this is just the ends from since last time I showed it to you. So this is probably like a quarter of the amount of ends that will end up being on this project. I would guess it's gonna be over 100. So, and they all have to be individually woven in. So that to me, I do not mind. I don't mind just sitting down and weaving in. It doesn't bother me, but if you hate weaving in ends, this is not the project for you. There's probably a better way to do it, but that's how I've been doing it, just weaving them in. So just calling that out. However, I am very much enjoying this and loving it. If you like intarsia, if you like complicated work, if you like a beautiful scarf, this is a project for you, and hopefully coming out sometime in June from Floro and Sperlin. Oh, I also wanted to say, I started collecting my little ends because I've heard a couple of other podcasters talking about how hedgehog fibers in Ireland, you can send them your yarn ends and they use them in their Tweety yarn that they make. And then they give you like a discount on yarn. And I love their Tweety yarn, and I aspire to someday make a sweater out of it. So I decided to start keeping all my little ends to send them eventually so that I can hopefully get a discount on some of that yarn. So yeah, I just thought that was cool. If you're really trying to like recycle or use up every little piece, that seems like a great way to do that. Sorry, bad noise. Okay, so that is the Floro mini shawl. All right, now I have 2 new cast-ons, and they're both fun summery projects. So let me pause here and grab those. Okay, so I think these are both new cast-ons since we last spoke. The first one is a Tulsta tee. So Rebecca at the Crayabea podcast just released her latest pattern, which is the Tulsta tee, which is just a really simple raglan t-shirt pattern, but it's such a great like blank canvas for all kinds of different like things or like fun yarns. And so when I was in Pittsburgh, also same place I got the yarn for my Rota, I picked up this really fun skein of Noro yarns. Sorry, this is the yarn. So sorry, I will try my best to read the label, which is of course in Japanese. Oh, nope, hold on, let's see. Here we go. Okay, so the base I believe is called Kakegori, and the yarn, the colorway, it just says color 8, but it says right here on the little tag that Kakegori is a Japanese shaved ice dessert, and you can see the base is definitely pink, but it has all of these like super fun colorful flecks in it. It is 50% cotton, 30% silk, 10% viscose, and 10% nylon. So it's a really interesting blend. I definitely feel the nylon in it as I'm working. It has that a little bit of like, I don't know how to describe it, like shiny kind of look, and it has those little like shiny kind of fibers, and it feels a little bit plasticky. It doesn't feel plasticky. I don't know how to explain it. It's like if you've ever knit with stock yarn with like a pretty high nylon content. But overall it's very, very soft. And it's gonna be lovely to wear. It's a little bit thick and thin, like it has some really fun texture to it. And also there's 600 yards? What does it say? 600 meters in the cake. So I knew that buying one would be enough to make a Tulsta tee, and I really wanted to try Noro. I've never tried them before. So I have a cast on, and here, oh, okay, here's what I've got. Sorry, I don't quite have enough to show it easily yet. But yeah, here's what I've got. So you can see the neckline there. It's quite wide, not as wide as the Rota jumper, but it'll be comfortable. I really don't prefer anything like super tight on my neck. So for a little summer top that I'm not gonna wear with anything under it, this will be great. So you can see there's 1x1 ribbing for the neck, and then I've started the raglan increases. And yeah, I'm just working away on the yoke. The color is knitting up really nice. It kind of, this little section on the back right here, that kind of stripe kind of looks like a sunset. It's just really pretty. I really like the yarn. Try and hold it a little close up so you can see the texture and the colors. Yeah. I'm using these fun little stitch stoppers that look like macaroons that Jess sent me as part of my sock swap box. And then I'm using this really pretty stitch marker as well that is from Maria, the Woolen or Forest Charm is her Etsy shop. But yeah, she makes really beautiful stitch markers. So yeah, this is a fun one. Just all the fun notions and the fun yarn. It's very quick. I've barely worked on this at all and I'm halfway through the yoke already. So yeah, this has kind of been my like, okay, I did 20 rows on the Floro test knit. Now I get to do a little bit of mindless knitting on my Tulsta. So I think once my shawl test is done, this will be the next thing that gets a lot of my attention and it'll probably just kind of fly. Short sleeved. I'm just knitting this one to pattern. I have a couple of other quantities of yarn in mind for some other versions, and I'll talk about that a little bit more at the end. And the last one is barely cast on. It's literally barely cast on, but I'm going to show you anyway. So this was a definite impulse cast on. One night this week, I've been working on my test knit for like hours, and I was like, I just need something fun to like cast on and get it out of my brain. Like I have cast on-itis right now. I don't know if it's the changing seasons or what, but I knew I wanted to make this. It was noodling around in my brain. I just went ahead and cast it on, and it's the Look at My Holes by James N. Watts. I will put a picture in so you can see what it will look like, because like I said, I don't have much to show. I am making it in Drops Muscat, which is a mercerized cotton in this really, wow, yeah, it's that bright. It's like electric blue. It's slightly more purple and dark in real life, more of like a true cobalt. It's looking a little yellow on the screen there. This is color 15. And yeah, you can see how like shiny it is. That's the mercerized cotton. I had actually purchased this to make a second Corin cardigan when I was testing that for Rebecca. But after I got the yarn, so my Corin I made with a wool cotton blend, and I love how it turned out. And when I got this yarn in, I just thought, I don't think I'm gonna love this yarn as much in that pattern. So I decided to hang on to it for a different use, and I've now cast on the Look at My Holes, which is a hilarious name. All right, how to show this without dropping all the stitches. This is literally all I have. It's, like I said, it's barely cast on. Yeah. So, but you can see the first row of the mesh starting to emerge. Yeah, I truly like just cast it on and got through the first repeat, and that was it. However, I did want to mention that James recently updated this pattern, so now there is an option with short rows to drop the neck down a little bit in the front. I think previously there were no short rows, so it was just knitted the neck in the round, and I definitely prefer short rows, so I waited for them to release the new version, and then I went ahead and purchased it and cast on. So again, this will get more love after my test knit is finished, so hoping to have more to show on this for next time. And I think this will be a fairly quick knit. But yeah, I think this yarn is a little bit more well suited for something like this versus the cardigan. And a couple episodes ago, I shared an orchard dress that I had sewn recently. That is a really pretty like navy grounded floral print with some of this same exact like bright blue in it. So my vision is to throw this over that dress that is just like a little tank top dress, and I think that'll be really cute. All right, and that is it for whips. I'm gonna move on now to some acquisitions and some future project planning. All right, so I don't have a ton of new acquisitions to share with you today, a little bit of yarn, but I am planning an order. So I'm starting to think about my summer sewing projects. And also I'm just gonna go ahead and tease this. I think I'm gonna do a little series of like summer vlogs, like a Vlogmas style, but for the beginning of summer, because I'm taking a week off work towards the end of June, and with the intention of not doing anything except like making things and having a little bit of a staycation and a break from work. So I'm very excited about that, and I have some like fun events going on during that time. So I was thinking I might try some vlogs, maybe not every day, maybe like every other day. I might just see how I feel and see how I like that format, like in ahead of like the Christmas season, to see if I want to try a Vlogmas or something like that. So yeah. But as part of that, I'm going to hopefully share the process of making my summer sewing plans, and I will also be around the same time releasing my summer sewing plans video. So very excited about that. And as part of all that pre-planning, I am going to be placing a Blackbird Fabrics order, but I did just want to shout this out for anyone who sees the podcast this weekend. Again, today's the 18th, I think. They are currently having, no, it is the 18th, but they're having a sale that I think is going until Monday. So they are having like a weekend sale right now, and it's pretty good. It's like 25% off all their linens, and their linens are my absolute favorite. This is not sponsored at all. I just love their fabrics, and they're a little bit on the pricier side. So if you've been wanting to try them, now would be a good time to do so. So I will be acquiring some fabrics, which I'll share with you in probably the next or maybe the following episode. They ship from Canada, so sometimes takes a little bit to get here to the States. But yeah, today I have some more yarn that I purchased from For the Birds Rehab. So I've talked about them quite a bit on the past few episodes. Not going to go into too much detail, but this is a secondhand yarn shop that I recently discovered, and all of the proceeds go towards wild bird rehabilitation, which is great because I love yarn and I love birds, and it's secondhand yarn, really nice yarn at a discounted price and a pretty reasonable price. So I have a couple more things from their most recent update. The first one is very, very fun. So this is Chasing Rabbits Fiber Co. This is their Polworth base. It is a 4-ply fingering. It's 100% superwash, which I'm kind of like, The Polworth is what caught my eye because I've been wanting to try some different breed-specific yarns, and I was a little bit surprised to see that it was superwash. I probably said that on the website, and I would have bought it anyway, but I was just a little bit surprised by that. So yeah, it's New Zealand Polworth wool, 100 grams, 437 yards, and it's this really, really beautiful color. So it's got this kind of taupey base, and then this colorway is called Wild Violet, and you can see why. It has assigned pooling, which means that only like a specific little chunk of the yarn is dyed in this really contrasting color, and it's this beautiful ultraviolet, and there's like a little bit of yellow sprinkled in there as well. And I actually got 2 skeins of this. So I have been curious to try a yarn with assigned pooling, and I have seen, I don't know if that's the correct way to refer to the yarn or just like the type of project that I want to try making with this. I've seen all these really interesting patterns popping up. Most of them are like shawls, which is probably what I'll be looking for. I'm trying to get more into like shawls and scarves. I so far have not loved like knitting them as much, but I feel like I would love wearing them. So I think I just need to find the right pattern. I'll talk more about that in a minute. But yeah, I think these will eventually become like a beautiful shawl or scarf with like some assigned pooling, like baubles, or I've seen one that's like brioche with I don't know. I need to look for a pattern, but I'm very excited to look through those patterns because they're all really interesting and find one that'll work for these really beautiful yarns. And again, I got these secondhand for an excellent price. The last thing I got from For the Birds was a lot of this. This is Leggin and Lace, another brand I've been really wanting to try. This is their Rustic Heather Sport. It's 100% Canadian wool, 56 grams for 215 yards, and this is the smoke colorway. So you can see this lovely, lovely texture. It feels very similar to the base yarn that I'm using for my pressed flowers cardigan, which I have started, haven't worked on it in a minute, but I shared about that a few episodes ago. And that is Cricket by Kelborn Woolens, which is also sport weight, and it's 100% non-superwash merino, and it has a very similar texture. Really lovely bounce and squish. It has just this beautiful natural wool texture. I would say it's like, I mean, it's called Rustic Heather. It's definitely, it has texture and body, but it's not scratchy. It's very soft considering it's 100% natural wool. So I got 6 of these for $20, which is such a good deal. And my vision, again, I just told you I'm on the shawl train. So I was talking to another local knitter. Hi, Jane. Don't know if you'll ever watch this, but if you do, hi. And she's a big shawl knitter and suggested the Cinnabar shawl by Andrea Mallory as a way to like get into shawl knitting. So when I got this and I saw how much I have, which is more than I would need to make the Cinnabar, but I just thought it's the correct weight and it's so beautiful. And I really have this vision for like a very neutral Cinnabar. I just want like a huge neutral shawl that I can wear with anything. So I was like, okay, this would be perfect. And I think I'm gonna pair it with this. So like a gray neutral paired with this like warm neutral that has a little bit more variegation. This is Ba Savannah. It's their, what base is it? It's Ba Yarns Savannah base, which is their sock base. It's hand dyed. The color is toasted neutral, and I got this in Savannah, Georgia. Or nope, that's a lie. I got this in Chicago at Yarnify. Sorry. I've been to Savannah, the color, the brand, the base is Savannah. It's all confusing. This is from Chicago. I bought this at Yarnify. So I want to hold these two together to make a Cinnabar. And then I was also thinking how to hold this. I may hold it with this mohair. So the pattern does not call for mohair, but it does call for sport weight yarns. And the gray is a sport weight. This is a fingering weight, and I'm wondering if I could get away with holding the mohair with that. And I really think that I would love the texture that that creates, and the softness of the mohair might help to kind of balance out the slight rusticness of the heather yarn. So what do you think? I also feel like adding this white mohair would help this color to have a little bit more contrast from the gray. So that's kind of what I'm noodling on. I really want to cast this on like immediately, even though I have 19 other projects because like I said, I have cast-on-itis. So I originally bought these 2 yarns. So I have 2 skeins of this and 4 skeins of this, and I had purchased them to make a linto sweater. And if you've watched the podcast, you know I already made 2 lintos during the Let's Linto Cal that was earlier this year. And I just never got around to the 3rd one. And to be honest, I was a little put off of it because I was gonna have to do helical knitting with this hand-dyed yarn. And I don't think it's gonna be hard to do that, but I've never done it before. And it felt like I didn't wanna have to use a technique like that on a project as simple as the linto, which is just a basic raglan, if you're not familiar. And so I think I'm gonna use it for this instead. And it would be the correct amount of yarn, just what I need. And I don't think I'd have to do helical knitting because the way the color is broken up in the shawl, I don't think it would bother me if there were more like chunks or pools of color the way that it would in a sweater. So yeah, this is kind of what I'm thinking. And I might just cast this on tonight because I really want to. Am I going crazy? I told myself I could have a break from my test knit tonight because I've been working on it so much. I just am like craving something else. So I might cast this on tonight. And I'm sure that this will be a very long-term project, just like my Keswick scarf, which is another massive like shawl scarf situation. So yeah, but I have the vision and I really want to work on this. So that's some dream knitting. The last upcoming project that I want to talk about is Sari Nordland's Summer Sock Knit Along. So I've been talking in the past couple of episodes about how I look forward to this sock knit along every year, and it's kind of what got me into knitting in the first place. I had seen someone's 4 pairs, of these absolutely stunning, beautiful socks, and it was someone's finished objects for this knit along, and it made me like have to knit socks, like have to learn how to do it. And that is what really got the ball rolling for me on this knitting obsession that I've had for the past like almost 2 years at this point. So I was starting to be afraid that Sari was not going to be hosting the knit along again this year, because normally it starts in May. And I had shared a couple yarns that I had gotten for it, just picked up as I was traveling because I was planning to do the knit along. And I was kind of resigned to just doing my own sort of knit along. But this week, just yesterday or the day before, Sari announced that she is going to be doing the Summer Sock Knit Along again. It's just going to be a little bit later in the year, starting June 1st. So that made me so happy. And I just want to share with you the yarns that I'm going to be using for that. So the whole idea is that you take 3 skeins of yarn and you make 4 pairs of socks. And a new design gets released each month. And as you go, you complete them. And at the end, you have these 4 beautiful pairs of socks. They're always quite intricate patterns, very beautiful lace, cables, kind of what Sari's known for. And then usually the last pair is usually like a color work or a stripe or something that uses all of the colors together. So I'm very excited. This will be my 3rd time doing it. So the first one that I did, I wasn't like in the timeline of the knit along. It was like after it had ended. But last year I did participate in the Cal. And then I'll be participating again this year. So Sari runs this knit along on her Ravelry page. And at the end, you just post a picture of your 4 finished pairs of socks there to be entered for the giveaways. So if you're interested in that, I'll have a link to her Instagram down below, or at least the info, so you can follow along. But I want to show you the yarns that I landed on. And actually, I forgot one. So let me grab it really quickly. Okay, I'm back. All right, so the ones that I had gathered and was intending to use were these. So let me show you in order of how I acquired them. So I have this really pretty pink that has some like gold and rust flecks in it. This is from local yarn store, Yarn It and Dash, Yarn It and Haberdashery. And it's the Backcountry Knitter. Sorry, let me pull the little tag out here. They were having a pop-up there, and I purchased quite a few skeins. This is the last one I have left. This is their twisted sock base, and the color is Dusty Rose. So that will be one of the yarns that I'm using. The second one is the same red that I just showed you that I'm using in my Floro mini shawl test knit. And this is from Ryan Yarns, which I purchased in Savannah, and it's their twisty sock base. The color is the heart of it all. It's just this really pretty, variegated, dark burgundy kind of color. So those are the 2 that I am for sure using. And now I'm kind of flip-flopping on what I want the last color to be, so I'm hoping that you can help me pick by commenting below. So these are the 2 that I'm definitely using. Okay, and then the other one I was planning on using, I purchased from a D-Stash on Instagram, and it was this really pretty green. The brand is A Knitter's Homestead. It is the color Moonstone, and it's just this beautiful, like soft green with these little flecks of blue. And so I was planning on holding these 3 together. Now, what I really like about this one is that it is similar in style to the other 2. So these are all like lightly variegated, and then the pink and the green both have like a little bit of a contrast speckle. But I would say this is like a little bit more unusual. Like it's 3 very distinct colors. So each one will make a beautiful pair of socks, but when they're paired together, they're like a little bit more funky. So this is option 1 for the 3rd color. Option 2 is this, which is a beautiful skein that I got from For the Birds Rehab in their first update. It's Palmer Yarn Company, soft sock, and it is, I'm not sure what the color is. I don't think it has a color. This is hand dyed in Minnesota. Absolutely beautiful. It's like a soft light blue with bits of pink and orange and brown and yellow just kind of all throughout. And it is very pretty with these. Like the more burgundy color and the pink are kind of picked up in this yarn. So this is also a really nice option, and now I can't decide because I love how this yarn picks up the colors from these. So in the pair of socks where some of these colors are combined, I think this would be a little bit more harmonious and very beautiful. However, I'm more worried about what this yarn will look like on its own if it's in a very textural, like complex pair of lace or cabled socks that you may not get credit for the design of the sock in such a speckled, like variegated yarn. So please let me know what you think. I'm truly torn. Do you like the green Knitter's Homestead? Or do you like the hand-dyed Palmer Yarn Company variegated color? Please let me know. Please help me decide, because that is starting on June 1st. And like I said before when I was talking about my D20 socks, I'm thinking about giving myself a little bit of a sock break in the next couple of weeks. So I'm gonna finish my self-striping socks probably in the next few days. And then I think I'm gonna take a little pause to rejuvenate my sock mojo before this starts, because so far this year I've really only been knitting like very simple vanilla socks with like interesting textures or self-striping yarn or the D20 or like my own design when I released the Savannah socks, which are available on Ravelry as a free pattern. I'll put a little picture in if you want. There'll be a link below to, excuse me, hiccups. There will be a link below to download that if you're interested. That is also pretty simple. Oh my gosh, the hiccups. I'm so sorry. That's horrible. I'm so sorry. Also very simple. So I've knit a lot of simple socks this year. Sari's designs are not simple. They're probably all over lace, all over cables, color work. So I feel like I need to kind of like take a breath on socks and prepare to like do some more intensive sock knitting over the rest of the summer. So yeah, I think next episode I will hopefully have those self-striping socks finished to share with you, but I'm probably not gonna cast on another pair until the sock knit along starts. So that'll give me like 10 to 15 days, a little bit of a break. And I knit a lot of socks, so that is kind of a break for me. So that'll be nice. Yes, please let me know which colorway you like better for the knit along, the colorful teal or the green. I would really appreciate your feedback. That is all the yarny, knitty goodness that I have for you today. I did just want to quickly give a little update. So life's been pretty crazy. Every year when the weather gets warmer, I feel like we get super busy with lots of social commitments, but it's all fun stuff, all good stuff. But work has also been very busy. My full-time job, I work as a fashion designer full-time, and it's just a busy season. Everything kind of gets scrunched up right now so that we can have a little bit more ease throughout the rest of the summer. So there's been a lot going on, but it's all been good. And I have found time to plant the garden. So I'm gonna put a little video in here where I'm walking you through our garden boxes and what we planted in them. So here's our little garden. We have 4 raised beds. In this one we have marigolds, and then we've planted a few rows of lima beans. It's like a bush variety, so they won't need to be trellised. Here, more marigolds, and then in the middle we have radishes and green onions. This is our pepper bed. So we have 6 different kinds of peppers. Can't even remember what they all are. A couple different varieties of red, orange, and green. I know these are jalapenos and poblanos. And then lastly, we have 2 tomato plants. So this one is an heirloom, like beefsteak style tomato, and then the one on the right is a little cherry tomato. So yeah, I'm really happy with how these turned out. It's been quite the project. We had to remove all the grass from underneath, you know, construct the beds. There was also a bit of a like dip right here in the ground that we had to fill in to level them out. And yeah, they turned out really great. All right, I hope you enjoyed that little garden tour. Thank you so much for being here today and following along. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Really, I'm excited about the little community that we're building here, and I'm super grateful to everyone who watches. So yeah, please let me know what you think about my summer sock knit along colors below. Let me know if you're working on anything, if you've planted your garden. I love to read your comments. And I do try to reply to all of them. So please leave me a comment. And yeah, thank you for being here. I will see you next time. Bye.